Yeah, it's time for another arcade fun for five. And this one, it's Atari. And I just wish it was going to be better. What's going on, everyone? It's Rich Haywood here for Bacon Ice Cream Productions and TMR JFC, welcoming you to yet another episode of Good Times with Retro Rich and Fun for Five. Now, I don't want to be unusually harsh on Atari. I love Atari. I love Atari games. I love all of the stuff. But this particular collection is one of those ones that just a bit outside. Just a bit outside. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna find out why. There are some that are like really awesome. There's some really cool highlights, and we're gonna show them to you. But then there are some that are just like maybe not. So anyway, let's just jump in and see what we're talking about. Atari Arcade 1 on the Evercade VS. Let's go. All right, here we are. It's Atari Arcade 1. There are 13 games, which actually is pretty good. It's a pretty good amount. We've got Asteroids Deluxe, which, I mean, I know that there's been a running joke. It's not actually Asteroids Deluxe. So they got the wrong ROM or something like that. Something happened. But for that, even though Asteroids is one of my favorite games of all time, and it plays well, I can't give it a pick. In good conscience, I cannot give it a pick. So we're gonna move on from it. But you know, if it gets patched and whatever, and you know, all this stuff gets fixed, or whatever, it'll be fine. We'll revisit it. Maybe it'll be kind of cool. But Asteroids, the original, and Asteroids Deluxe. I mean, almost any other version of Asteroids, they're all pretty good. I prefer the 2600 version of Asteroids Deluxe, but that's just me. All right, so then we got Canyon Bomber. Canyon Bomber is a really cool game. It's really neat. It plays well on this collection. It is a decent addition. You know, kind of worth your time just to like play around with it and hang out. You know, definitely cool. And you know, so you know what? I'm gonna give Canyon Bomber a pick. You know, it's a cool game. Definitely check it out. All right, now we get to Centipede. Now Centipede again, awesome game, really cool. Very, very awesome. But this particular version of it, right? This is the arcade version of Centipede. It was designed with a different controller in mind. That controller is not available because all we got is this D-pad or whatever else you plug in. You can plug in, I don't know, something that resembles one of these. It's always going to have a D-pad or an analog stick or something. But it's not the preferred way of moving the guy around on the screen. So things that perform a little bit better, the 2600 or 7800 versions of Centipede, any of the other collections play better than this version of Centipede, in my opinion. Doesn't say that it's not a great game. It's a fantastic game, but the controls hamper it a little bit. So Centipede doesn't get the pick, even though it really kind of does get the pick. It's a great game, but maybe just not on this particular collection. All right, we move on to Crystal Castles. Now this one, even though the controls are a little wonky, I am going to give it a pick because you know what? It's a cool game and I like it. It looks better, it performs better than the other versions of the game that are on 2600, etc. You know, it's pretty cool. So definitely a pick there. We're going to move on to Liberator. Now this one was one of those games that I didn't actually know what was going on, and I didn't know how to like play or do whatever. But as soon as I got into it, man, this game's cool. This one definitely gets a pick. 100% Liberator gets a pick. It's worth your time. Definitely check it out. If you've never seen it, you've never played it, you've never heard about it, get on this one and play it. All right, because it's going to be worth your time. So Liberator definitely gets a full pick. All right, now we go to Lunar Lander. Now Lunar Lander also gets a pick for me because I don't know what it is about this game. I love it. There are versions of this game that exist everywhere. You can play it like in Flash on a browser somewhere, I'm sure, or a version of this. It's really cool. I will say though that part of Vector Sector on the Atari 50th, this is one of those games that exists in that pantheon. You get to play like a level of Lunar Lander, and then it goes to something else. And well, actually, I think it starts in Asteroids and then goes to Lunar Lander and then goes to I think Major Havoc or something like that. Man, that's a great game. Anyway, getting off track. This one's cool. Definitely worth your time. I'm giving it a pick because you know what? It came out in 1979. I was born in 1979. Whatever. Give it a pick. It's also just a cool game. You know. Anyway, just do it up. Millipede is another one just like Centipede. Really cool game. Very cool game. Worth your time. Worth to check out. Maybe in the console versions. Maybe not this one. Because again, until we get like the controller situation settled, this one won't play as well as any of the others. Although, you know, yes, the controllers do translate. You can play the game. It's just not as, I don't know, it's not as solid playing it on here as it is playing it obviously on the other arcade or playing any of the other consoleized versions of this game that take those controls in mind. So no pick there, but I mean, it is kind of a pick because it is a cool game. Missile Command, one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Can't give it the pick because again, the same control thing. You want that? Give me that. You know, you want the roller ball. But if you can't have it there, you know, again, consoleized versions of the game, they play well. The 2600 version in particular is actually pretty decent. Plays a little differently, obviously, than the arcade version, but it's still a pretty cool game. Missile Command itself is also a cool game in the arcade. However, like I said, I can't give it a full pick because, you know, just those controls hold it back, and you know, so therefore, no pick for that. Night Driver. It's one of those games where, you know, they were just kind of trying to figure it out, right? So this has like, you know, when I play Night Driver, I actually think about the Atari 2600, not Coleco, Activision game Enduro a lot, because I think what happened is Enduro wound up becoming like what Night Driver 2 would be if someone that wasn't the guys that made Night Driver 2, right? It would be Enduro, in my opinion. I think Enduro is the better game. I think I would pick it way over this one, but there's something to be said about Night Driver and the fact that, you know, it is like kind of like a predecessor to a lot of like these stand-up, you know, driving arcade games. I just can't give it a full pick because I, you know, maybe I'll give it a half pick just for the nostalgia stake. But I mean, it's not something I'm going to come back to and play a lot. So unfortunately, that is where I rest with Night Driver. But it is kind of cool. It is kind of cool. All right. Anyway, we go to Pong, the granddaddy of them all. You know, it's an important game. It should be on Atari Arcade 1. You know, it is a thing that should be there. You know, but again, it's Pong. You know, you slap a quarter in and play some, and there you go. You know, what else can you say about Pong that hasn't already been said? Like I said, it's an important game that needs to be there. If you want to play some with two players, you know, you got some two-player Pong action going in there. You know, you get the, you know, on the couch, you know, maybe you play like Pong WWE where like you have to score while also smacking each other with a pillow. I don't know, you know, do something else to spice up the game. But yeah, it's Pong. I mean, I'm gonna give it a pick because come on, you know, it's the one, right? But it's not something I'm going to be putting on and playing. So then we go to Skydiver. Skydiver is a cool game. It's fun. It's pretty neat. Again, controls are a little wonky, but again, it's fun. I would say go on in there, play some, get some Skydiver on. I'm going to give it a pick because, you know, it's a fun game, and I think people should check it out. It's one of those quirky little things. Before like the deluge of all of the cool colors and all this kind of stuff. It's like a lot of these games are, you know, those classic, you know, like monochrome-ish type games on these collections. So, you know, it's it's worth your time to check it out. So there's that. Super Breakout is an awesome game that I fully prefer the 2600 version of. I am not going to give this one a pick, even though a lot of people do like this particular Brick Breaker in the arcade. No, I don't know what it's because of what I grew up with. I just can't. I have to have I have to have Super Breakout on the 2600 because it's 2600 a bust for me. I don't know what it is. It's just in my head. I don't know, but um, but it is a cool game, and if you like Brick Breakers, this is a solid one, and worth your time to check it out. And then Warlords, another one that's really really awesome, but then controls kind of weird in this one, and I want to give it a pick, but I'm not going to because I want the dial in, and I know it's not anyone's fault. It's not Blaze's fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just one of those weird things where like, okay, you created a collection. It's got all these great arcade games, and some of the most memorable ones on this collection aren't going to play like you want them to play because they don't have the hardware around them, the accessories around them to play them. Now, I will say this. If we know anything about Blaze, now, you know what? I'm going to say this for the wrap up, but this one's not going to get a pick because, again, you want to play it with the controllers. And if you want to play it, this version of this game in a cool way, the 2600 version is also super awesome, but also you need the paddles, right? You can't play this game without paddles because it is a paddle. It's a paddle game. Like, you have to play it with a paddle. But anyway, there's that. So that's the Arcade one. Atari Arcade 1. So we want to go over it again. You got Asteroids Deluxe, didn't get the pick. You got Canyon Bomber, did get the pick. You got Centipede, that was the pick got taken away because of the control thing. Crystal Castles did get a pick. And then of course Liberator gets a pick. I'll just keep going here. Lunar Lander gets a pick. We skip over Millipede, Missile Command. I think I gave Night Driver half a pick. Pong gets a pick just because it's Pong. Skydiver gets a pick, and no picks for Super Breakout or Warlords. That pains me. Like I said, that this was going to be a rough one. But let's go on ahead to the wrap up and talk a little bit about why there's some silver lining maybe to this collection. Let's go. All right, guys. So that was Atari Arcade 1. I so badly want to give like all of these things. It's another one of those. Hey, we got a slam dunk, and it's like gonna be awesome, and all these things get picks. But I can't do it on this one because we don't have those controls. Now, like I said, let's roll it all the way back to what I was saying about Blaze Entertainment, the Evercade, and all this kind of stuff. I don't think this game or this cartridge comes out. Now, this is pure speculation. I don't know anything, whatever. But if I'm Blaze, I don't put out this collection unless there's two reasons. Atari absolutely wants these games on a collection, and they went, let's do an Atari Arcade collection. They're like, okay, fine. Here are the ones you can pick, and that's it. And you get what you get. Okay. That could be a possibility. It's a weird business decision, and, it doesn't matter if half the games don't work properly, or like not properly, but they won't play the way you remember them is how I'm going with. And Blaze is so very good at putting games on these collections that play the way you remember them, right? Specifically. Or this is a pre-cartridge, right? This collection is coming out to kind of like wink and nod, and it's not the Mist, it's not whatever, but maybe you wait until next year, and then maybe there'll be a thing that you can do, or maybe they'll figure out a way. Like maybe they were confident. Oh, someone's going to figure out a way to get some driver sets, and then you can use third-party controllers, and then this collection is going to be awesome. But at the same time, they're thinking we should probably have a first-party solution for our own collection, right? If we're putting out a collection and we know we need to have a spinner controller or a rollerball or something like that, there's got to be a way that we have to answer that call. Just saying. I mean, it's probably good business. Maybe it's a niche. Maybe only a handful of people will do that. Maybe they'll do it in a handful of people way, like a limited edition. Hey, we have this controller that works really well with some of our great arcade collections, and it opens the door to other things that you might be able to do. Just saying. Also, it's Atari Arcade 1, and I know this one is like the classic arcade one. If they make an Atari Arcade 2, I mean, just putting it out there, if they go into the late 80s, early 90s genre of Atari games, I don't know how they're going to make it work because it's nearly impossible to emulate. And I've tried. But I mean, just slide hard driving in there. Come on, race driving. Why not? Let's go. Let's do it. But anyway, it's a wrapping it up. That's the collection. Great games. It's a cartridge to collect if you're trying to get them all. I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily recommend it until I know that there are those better controllers or whatever, the better control situation. As soon as that happens, though, just going boom. Half these that were no picks become picks because they are great games. I wasn't doing it based on the game itself and how it would play. I'm doing it how it does play now. So obviously these things can change. We can revisit some of these other collections that I've done Fun for Fives for, and then the picks might change because I didn't realize that one of the games I didn't like was so good, or maybe I was a little bit rose tinted on some of these, and then they changed to half picks or no picks. Who knows? It's fun. This is why we do it, right? It's all fun. So, what do you guys think about this collection? Am I off base? Am I on? Whatever. Let me know down below in the comments. As always, thanks so much for hanging out with me too, and chilling and hanging out and doing all those things, and it's a good time. It's good to be here. It's good to be back. It's good to be doing all these things and talking cool games. We got one more collection before Saturday, and that's Jalico Arcade 1. That's gonna be cool. We're gonna check that out tomorrow, so don't miss that. And then of course the Evercast on Saturday. EXP, it's coming. It looks like they got everything in the thing. Had the UI video we're gonna check out. Come on down to the Evercast and hang out with us. And until then, we'll catch you next time for some good times. I'm Rich, and we'll see you later. All right, take it easy, guys.
RTFC.baconicecream.com